Hey everybody, it's Hunter here from Dad Strong. Just wanted to make a little bit longer video than usual. I know typically I'm just making shorts on things like grip strength or some of the oddball stuff I might be doing around the garage, but have gotten some requests and some questions about making some longer videos, covering some other details. So just wanted to draw up some stuff on the board that we could talk about for a quick second. In the description of the channel, I've mentioned that I am a health and wellness coach and strength and conditioning coach here for a company in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I do work a lot with different firefighters and police officers for the city, and a lot of the information that I might cover here are a lot of the conversations that I might have with a lot of those clients that I talk to throughout the day. So behind me, I've written out some stuff that I just wanted to cover really quick for everybody. It's not a particular topic that was requested specifically, but it is something that I cover a lot in my different sessions when I'm helping clients. So what's the topic of today's video? I wrote up here at the top, the more you learn, the more you realize it's not that complicated, obviously by me. So it might be a bit cheesy, but the reality is one of the biggest questions that I get from clients, all walks of life is, hey Hunter, what's the best thing that I could be doing? Or, is this really gonna work? Or should I be trying to do something else? And I feel like it's not always the answer that people want to hear, but the answer that I think I really do believe in is the best answer to give is that I think it all works. We talk a lot about it at the office where I work at. At a certain point, I really don't think it's that complicated. I think the biggest thing is that you're interested in the thing that you're doing, that you see the value in the thing that you're doing. And the best way to describe it, especially when we're talking about different exercises, different training programs, different modalities, different concepts, I like to kind of describe things as being on a spectrum, right? Somewhere between things that help you with how you train, things that help you with the way you test, right? So if it's strength, if it's performance, the reality is that some of the exercises, some of the concepts that we might try to incorporate in the training have more value in helping us train those areas, and other ones obviously going to maybe test the strength, but maybe don't have a ton of carryover, right? It may be hard to see here, but a couple of the examples that I wrote were deadlift, right? Great test of overall body strength, but is it something that you want to train a ton of frequency or a ton of volume with? I'm not so sure, right? It depends on the intensity, but if you're trying to go heavy on deadlifts, it's maybe not the best exercise to train very, very frequently, especially if you want to incorporate other lifts as well. On the far end of the training side, I put barbell shrugs, right? That's a great tool for training things like traps, shoulders, grip strength, upper back, just helping your body adjust to heavier weight. You can do tons of volume, you can do it pretty frequently, but is that necessarily a great test of overall strength, right? I think we've all seen the people in the gyms that maybe want to shrug a ton of weight, but the reality is that other than shrugging a lot of weight, that doesn't actually tell you a lot about that person's athletic performance or their ability, right? And then again, if you can see it, the best thing, what I tried to do is mark it right here in the middle, pin lay row, right? Just off the top of my head, I thought that was a pretty good example of an exercise that lands somewhere between deadlift and barbell shrug, right? Can you move a lot of weight with it? Absolutely. It'd be a great test of strength, because at the end of the day, if it's not moving off the ground, it doesn't matter if you can row it or not. But is it something that you can train with? Absolutely. You can lighten the weight, you can use more frequency, you can use more volume if you want to. As long as you're being smart with the low back and the hips, it can definitely be incorporated on either ends of that spectrum. So why did I want to preface the video by saying that? Because again, a lot of times the biggest question that I get in my different sessions are, what works best? What should I be doing? And the answer that I give is, everything works, obviously within reason, right? You can't sit there and say that doing one exercise is going to get you better in a totally different area of athletic performance. It does have to relate to what you're doing, or it has to be applicable. But at the end of the day, if someone's asking me, do I need to be doing sets of 10 or do I need to be doing sets of 5? Do I need to be doing 5 sets total? Do I need to be doing 10 sets total? Are there some variations between how your body responds to that stuff? Sure. But I think, ultimately, when it gets down to it, the nuts and bolts, I think any of that stuff is going to work for your goal, as long as you're being reasonable and as long as you're being smart about how you're trying to apply that. So Underneath this, I just made sure to make quick notes on things like application, right? So what is it that you're doing? How does it apply to your overall goal? You know, what's the intent of the movement? What's the intent of the concept that you're trying to come across? You know, if it's to get better endurance, then yeah, maybe we're not going to do super low reps, super heavy weight. So it does have to relate to what you're doing. The mechanics of it, right? If you're trying to get better at a very you know, high impact sport or a very, you know, athletic sport, it wouldn't be good to use super heavy weights that ask you to basically go real slow, that you can't produce a lot of speed with the movement. When we think about consistency, it's not just how you apply that stuff, but can you do it consistently? I think we talk a lot about in my sessions, one of the things that matters more than anything else is just being consistent over long periods of time. It's not always that it has to be the same thing, but you do have to care, if that makes sense, right? You can change your plans, you can change your strategies, you can change your concepts, but ultimately, if you care about what it is that you're doing, the consistency behind your interest and your motivation, that's really, really important, right? So we talk about effort with consistency and balance, right? So you have to have the effort there, but you have to be realistic. Part of the whole Dad Strength or the Dad Strong channel is I can't just train 7 days a week. I can't just give an hour and a half to 2 hours to every session. I can't constantly leave the house when I have a son and a wife that I want to spend as much time as I can with when I'm not at work. So when I talk about being, you know, able to balance that stuff, is not that you're ever perfect in the gym, but you do have to just find those moments and those opportunities to either give it your best or just say, hey, today's not the day. I'd rather spend time with family. I'd rather go out to the park or just go get ice cream. And all that stuff's super important, right? It's at the end of the day, you gotta have that balance, or you're gonna be choosing a lot. And unfortunately, with people who this isn't their career, this is their hobby, this is their fun time, if you start choosing between that and other things that make you happy, it's going to be super hard. So that kind of ties into the third point. I put passion, right? We have to be very passionate. I also put don't follow up with what I might call a hammer plan, right? Might not be a common term, but when I'm talking to clients a lot, that's what I call a hammer plan. Simple as saying, look, if I told you that the solution was to smash your hand with a hammer, there's people that would probably do that, right? And that's fine if they're super motivated. But the reality is if I told you you had to smash your hand with a hammer every single day, or 3 to 5 times a week for 1 to 2 hours at a time, smash your hand with that hammer in order to get that kind of result, people aren't going to sign up for that, right? And it's not crazy to think that people wouldn't want to attach to that idea. So when we talk about consistency, we talk about application, and being passionate to kind of tie that all together. The point is do things that you love to do, right? So don't follow that hammer plan. If you don't want to smash your hand with the hammer, don't expect that to be the strategy that you're going to use to be successful. It's super, super difficult to get up every day and go do the thing you hate. So just like you would expect somebody to have a job they love, have a training program that you love. You know, don't be trying to train for X's and O's when you want to really be talking about squares and triangles, right? But tie it all together. Again, I know maybe this is a bit redundant. Like I said, I'm not always the best at making these videos or talking in front of the cameras, but I did want to give you guys not just a, hey, do this exercise, hey, use this concept. Being the strength and conditioning coach or the health and wellness coach, I would probably call this a wellness conversation, right? So a big part of the wellness conversation is, you know, making sure that you're getting more from whatever effort you're given than just the objective. Did you lose weight? Did you gain weight? Did your cholesterol get better? So if we tie it all together, will it work, right? The questions I think that I ask myself, I would hope that, you know, anybody who subscribes to this channel would also ask. Super important, and you can apply this to more stuff than just the gym and nutrition and blood work, right, guys? So will it work? First question, does it have a purpose, right? Is it doing something for you? Are you gonna notice the difference? When you do X, Y, and Z, are you gonna see a change? Are you gonna be able to measure a change? It's super, super important that you can. If you can't see something happen, or if you can't measure something happening, I mean, it's almost impossible to even say that it has value, right? It'd be hard to determine. Second, can you do it consistently? Just like we mentioned, if you can't find a purpose in it and you can't even do it consistently, it's going to be really tough, right? But if you can stick with it day in, day out, or on a regular weekly, monthly basis, that's a super great sign for setting yourself up for success long term. Can you recover and show progress, right? That's a whole nother topic about recovery, environment, hydration, nutrition, sleep, right? What other sort of requirements your jobs and your home lives might have. But ultimately, can you recover? And if you do recover, if you take time off, can you show progress at the end of it, right? If you're doing something and it seems like no matter how much you train, you can take time off or do a deload and you come back and you have no noticeable change or difference, I think there's either, it'd be fair to say there's either some misalignment with your training expectations or just the way you're implementing, right? And then the final thing, will you enjoy doing this thing long term, right? It ties back into that passion part, goes right along with purpose. It's important to try new stuff all the time, and that's why you guys probably see the other videos. Like, yeah, I'm just constantly doing something different. Sometimes I do the same thing for weeks at a time. Sometimes I do the same thing every single day. And then there might be periods of time in my life where I don't do the same thing twice inside of 6 months, right? Bench press, a great example. I don't bench very much anymore, but I did that from the time I was 12 up until probably 30, right? So I'm kind of just moved on at that point in my life. But will you enjoy doing it long term? That's a super huge question that I don't think people spend time asking themselves. Like, I think they see the answer, they see what they could get from it if it goes perfect, but they don't stop and say, do I even want to do it, right? So from that wellness perspective, guys, just make sure you want to do the thing you're doing. If I could give you one piece of advice, I think, I'm only 33, but life is super, super short. We don't know when our time is up. Just don't spend your time doing something that you don't enjoy, that you're not passionate about. Just doesn't make any sense, right? So if we make it all super simple, right? So if you can find a purpose and make it consistent, if you can recover and show progress when you do it, and you think you can do it long term, it really, I honestly believe, doesn't matter what it is. I think it's going to work for you. You just have to be willing to give it a shot. And please, please, please make notes, right? Make training notes, write little personal notes, or talk to yourself, email yourself, send yourself text messages. Whatever you have to do, leave some sort of breadcrumb trail for yourself that tells you how things are changing over time, or else it's all pointless. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching the videos. For you that have subscribed to this channel, it's really just meant to be for fun, and it keeps me accountable. This is part of my, well, I think it works. So far what it does is every day I come home, I have a new idea for things to make for you guys. So for me right now, that's definitely working. Thank you.